want to talk to you today about something that my guitar teacher taught me many years ago and I've never forgotten it. It's called the 1583 method on guitar. 1583 is the magic number on guitar. You want to set it as your PIN number or your code to unlock your phone. Trust me, it will be worth it. It's extremely helpful and it taught me a lot about intervals and theory. What the 1583 method actually is a great way to memorize the first 4 intervals of any E shape, A shape or D shape chord on guitar. Once you get this, it makes working with those 3 chord shapes much easier. So not only does it work with the open chord forms of E, A and D, but it also works with their bar chord forms as well. So an E shape chord on guitar up here, A shape, and a D shape, and you can play those shapes anywhere on guitar, and the first 4 intervals are always the same. What do each of those numbers represent? Well, 1 is the root note of the chord, 5 is the 5th, 8 is the octave, and 3 is the 3rd. So for the root notes, those will stay the same. For the 5th, that can move up to the 6th, or even down to a sharp 4 or sharp 11, or down to a 4th. The octave can move down to either a major 7 or a dominant 7, or it can even move up to the 9th. The major 3rd can move down to a minor 3rd, or even down again to a sus2, or even up to the 4th. So let's have a look at that concept in more detail. I'm going to play all of those chords in their open forms first, and then I'm going to demonstrate the same thing as bar chords. Let's start with an E shape chord first. So E chord on guitar, like this. The first 4 strings, the first 4 notes that you play, the first 4 intervals, is that 1583. So here's the 1, here's the 5, here's the 8, the octave, and here's the 3, the 3rd. So 1583, root, perfect 5th, octave, major 3rd. So the root note will stay the same. The 5th on the guitar can move up a whole tone, so 2 frets to the 6th, like this. That gives us an E6 chord on the guitar. It can either move down a semitone to the sharp 4 or the sharp 11, or it can move down a whole step to the 4th, but you'll probably want to do that with the 3rd. That's a little bit more common. Let's move on to the octave, the 8. So there's my octave on this E shape chord. That can either move down a semitone to a major 7, like this. So that would be E major 7. Or it can move down a semitone from that, or a whole step from the octave down to an E7 chord, like this. It can either move up a whole step or a whole tone on guitar, or 2 frets. So that would be E add 9. The 9th is up there, 2 frets up from the octave. Let's have a look at the major 3rd now. So 1583, there's my 3rd. That can either move down a semitone, down to the E minor, so that E major chord becomes E minor, like that. I could move it down another semitone from there, so a whole tone down from the 3rd to become the 2nd, so that would be E sus2. Unfortunately, I can't really do this in this chord shape because I've run out of frets, but you'll see that happen when we do the bar chords. You can even move this 3rd up a semitone, so up a fret to the 4th, and that will become E sus4, like that. Let's do exactly the same thing now with an open A major chord on the guitar. So like this. The first 4 notes, same intervals, so 15, 8, 3, 1, 5, 8, 3. Root note, perfect 5th, octave, major 3rd. Root note stays the same. My perfect 5th, my most common one to do there is up a whole tone. I can move up to a 6th like this. And again, an A6 on the guitar. If I go to the octave, here, on the G, I can move that down a semitone to the major 7, so that note moves down to there. Need to rejig my fingers a little bit. A major 7, the octave goes down a semitone to the major 7. If it goes down another semitone from there, it becomes a dominant 7, like that. I can even move that octave up a whole tone to a 9th, and that becomes A add 9, like this. And with the 3rd, so 15, 8, 3, again, down a semitone becomes A minor. If If I go down another semitone from there, so a whole tone down from the original third, that becomes A sus2. And if I return back to my A major chord and move it up a semitone, A sus4. Same thing with the open D major shape like this. So again, 15, 8, 3, 1, 5, 8, 3. So root note, perfect fifth, octave, major third. The root note will stay the same. Here's the fifth. I can go up 2 whole frets, so a whole tone on guitar, that becomes D6. If I go to the octave here, again, down a semitone becomes D major 7. So that note here moves down to there. Down 1 fret. Move it down another semitone from there, that becomes D7. So the 7th is a whole 2 frets or a whole tone or a whole step lower than the octave. And again, if I take that octave where it was in the original position in the chord and go up 2 frets, up a whole step, up a whole tone, I get D add 9 like this. So I'm going to bar across there and I'm going to move my pinky finger up to the 5th fret, and that's a really nice chord. And the same thing happens with the third. Here's the third of the chord, the highest string. I'm going to move that down 1 semitone down to the minor. That's D minor. If I go down another semitone from there, so a whole tone down from the third, that becomes D sus2. And if I return it back to the original position here, and I go up a semitone, I get D sus4. So up a semitone on that third, the third becomes the 4th. So let's do exactly the same concept, but now with the bar chord form. So I'm going to do an E shape, an A shape, and a D shape. I'm going to do these chords on the 5th fret. You can do them anywhere on the guitar and the same concept will work. So I'm going to do them 5th fret here. Here's my E shape chord. That's an A chord on guitar, A major. Same rules, so 1583. So I've got my root note. Here's the perfect fifth. Again, I can go up a whole tone from there and that becomes a 6, so that becomes an A6 chord like that. So bit of a stretchy one, that one. Definitely one to practice. Octave, so 1, 5, 8. D string is the octave in this chord shape. So now if I move that down a semitone, I get A major 7. That chord is often cut down on guitar, that chord shape there. It's more of a jazzier voicing. So a lot of people tend to leave out the 5th and they put the 5th on the B string like this. I'll put that chord shape up. But you can see that the major 7 has moved down a semitone from the octave there. Still the same principle applies. If I go down another semitone, so if I go back to that major 7, or another half step, I'm going to get A dominant 7. Like that. And then if I return back to my major voicing here, that 8, 1, 5, 8 can go up 2 frets or up a whole tone or up a whole step on the guitar and we get A add 9. Beautiful voicing like that, really nice. And then the same principle works with the third. So if I go 15, 8, 3, there's my major third. Drop it down a semitone like that. And that becomes A minor. Now another semitone from there becomes A sus2. So if I move that down to there, and then the others are all the same, that's a little bit of a difficult chord voicing to do. So I do that with the thumb, like that. Some people fret it like this as well. So I can also take that third and move it up a semitone to get A sus4 like this. So you can either do it with all 3 fingers like that, or you can bar across that little bit in the middle there. A sus4. Same concept with the A shape chord on the guitar. So now I'm going to this one. This is actually a D major chord. So same thing, we've got 1583, so 1, 5, 8, 3. The 5th can go up a whole tone like this to a 6th. D D6 chord, I can take the octave and I can move it down a semitone to the D major 7 like that. If I remove that one, so go down another semitone, that becomes D7. And same thing with that octave, if it goes up, it becomes a 9th. So if we go up a whole step from there, we have D add 9. And then if we take a look at the major 3rd, down a semitone becomes D minor, down another semitone from there becomes D sus2, and then up a semitone from there becomes D sus4. So this method doesn't make bar chords any easier for you on guitar. They're still hard work, but it does give you a clear framework so that you're not just memorizing shapes anymore, you're actually memorizing the intervals within those shapes, and you're also learning a little bit of theory, a little bit of chord theory at the same time. It also means that if you come across any of these chords in songs, so if you come across like a D6 or an A6, you've got a method there for actually how to figure it out and how you're going to play it on the guitar. So that is the 1583 method. I hope you found that useful. Again, set it as your PIN number, set it as the code to unlock your phone. Never forget it on guitar, and I hope you find it as useful as I did in my guitar journey. So that's it for this video. If you found it useful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my website, colchesterguitarteacher.com, and until next time, my friends, take care and enjoy guitar playing. Thank you very much.